was silly, ridiculous, a waste of time. They didn't want that's why they were so successful. That's why they got away.
Made a living in very dangerous.
Integrated society.
Dianne Andrews in Black and White.
Welcome to Dianne Andrews in Black and White, and I'm your host, Dianne Andrews. Thanks for joining us in our 3 million homes, whether you're in New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, somewhere within our 50 parishes out of the 64 in the state of Louisiana, or our 4 counties over in Mississippi. Our handles for our YouTube, our Rumble will be on the screen, for our Facebook, for our Getter, I think is the name of the new Jason Miller Twitter type for the conservatives. You know, we're kind of independent here, but we try to tell the facts. If anything I try to be a truth seeker, and I'm an independent. So you can watch us, but I probably do have a lot of conservative values because that's how I grew up. Come on back to Dianne Andrews in Black and White. I know you all know about critical race theory, CRT. The communists called it CCT before they took communism over in China. Venezuela called it something else, and Cuba called it something else. So come on back and let's learn about education. And let's learn about true values in this great country, the greatest in the world. And I've traveled to 6 continents, and there's nothing better than the United States of any color in the world. To the guy that interviewed me at CNN, because they get such slanted information, and when it gets down to the reporter, right. I mentioned what was going on in Arizona, that they have found some ballots to May, you know, they weren't folded, and so if you send a ballot in the mail, it's going to be folded. It looks like they had been copied when they did the forensic audit, and everybody's saying, oh, Donald Trump, you know, they recounted. Recounting is not forensic. You've got to go through and check for signatures. That's why Stacey Abrams and now have changed their what they're saying. She's changed her slant. Now, they were saying they didn't want voter ID. I saw on TV last week because 88% of the people, Democrat and Republican, said we need voter ID in this country. And the Georgia the Georgia law doesn't have it. Now, Texas does. Right. And these women have gone all the way, the Texas party, right, gone all the way to Washington, refused to come back to Texas. That's nothing but a joke in a forest. Because they are not, Jim Crow was started by who? And done by who? Democrats. Right. The Jim Crow laws they were stopping us from voting. No one is trying to stop you from voting. We're trying to have fair, non-fraudulent elections. As I often say, Venezuela is the saddest of them all to me. 21 years ago, 3rd richest country in the world, most oil than any other country in reserves. And now they're eating out of trash cans. Right. And this equity, as another show I did with Susie Labry, talked about the fact that equity, what she learned about equity. We think equity is a good thing, but don't get it mixed up with equality. Right. Because equity means we all should be the same. In a capitalistic society, you're not the same. As far as financially, if you worked harder, like if you look at the Republicans, as you talked about, that ran, you were mentioning a lot of the Democrats usually come in with no money. Right. I mean, Barack Obama is on he's on track now to be worth $500 million in the next 2 years. He came in, what was he worth, a couple of million?
Not even that.
Not even a couple of million.
Not even that.
And Donald Trump comes in, and he was worth they said the real number he was really worth, net worth, was $3 billion. And now he's only worth $2 billion. Right. He lost $1 billion. He never took a penny from this country. He paid for his first own election, and he's been chastised, castrated, and everything they could to this man.
Well, so here's the scenario that we have to make sure that people understand. And look, I want the best thing for our people. I mean, I have no agenda against Americans, black or white. What made me take charge is this, is that, first of all, our people used to be focused on faith, family, and education. We were 80% with two-parent families before the 1960s, before we had help from the government.
When we were all living in our own communities and going to our own schools together.
Yeah, that's right. But here's a scenario. We had nothing, but we had everything.
Right.
We didn't have any tangible wealth.
Right.
But we had things that mattered more than anything. Your family, faith, and this earnest desire for a good education.
And let me tell you, my grandfather on my mother's side, he owned like 700-800 acres of land. They came here from Georgia, and his father and him, and then his father had come from Nigeria here. They had settled in Georgia, and then they took a wagon. He owned all his horses. He owned everything. Again, Nigeria, right?
Yes.
And they came here, and up in North Louisiana, they owned almost 1,000. My grandfather owned almost 1,000 acres of land, and his father lived next to them and everything like that. So we were making it even back then.
The only thing we wanted, and what Martin Luther King fought for, was we wanted full access to constitutional rights.
That's right.
Nothing more, nothing less.
We should be able to sit at the table with you. We should be able to ride that bus.
Here's what happened. Instead, we turned our eye away from our core values. We turned away from God, and we listened to these people and said, "Ooh, if you just elect a black mayor, you'll see we can prosper." We did that. We just elected a black congressman, and then a senator, and then, the president. Well, we did that for 50 years.
Right.
And we turned away from our core values, and now what we have is just our families are dilapidated. Literally, our children are wards of the state.
That's right.
They're wards of the state.
That's right.
Our women are by themselves.
Yes.
And they're growing old by themselves, and our children are being molested and abused, and our boys are being shot in the streets. So
let's talk a little bit. You started CRT. You had run for office. Did you enjoy that or didn't enjoy it?
I did. I enjoyed running. Here's the thing. People came out and they shared with me. Every week I had people come that said, I'd never been involved in politics.
Is this black people, white people?
Predominantly white. I live in the western suburbs of Minneapolis. It's the most affluent district in the state. 94% white, 6% black. And these people came to me, they said, look, your story is like the American story.
It is.
And I had young people coming out to volunteer for a Republican candidate, the youngest
but
volunteer
staff. But that is a Republican county, probably, right?
No, it's evenly split.
Oh, okay.
Evenly split. And so a lot of the party members go like, where'd you get all these young people from?
Yeah.
They said, can we go talk to them? I said, yeah, you can go talk to them and look at them, but don't feed the young people. Don't feed the young people. But here's the thing. I had people come to me and said, this is the first time they ever wrote a check out for a politician.
Yeah.
First time they ever had a political sign in their yard, because I was willing to fight and stand up for those American core values.
Is that when you learned more about CRT, or were they teaching it to some of your children? How old is your youngest child?
My youngest one is 17.
17.
My oldest is 27. Where critical race theory came in was from my opponent. I was not going to bring up race or ethnicity in the race. My opponent, who's the third wealthiest member of Congress, Phillips, a white man, after the George Floyd incident, he came out and said the reason why we have these problems in the black community is because white Minnesotans are guilty of white privilege.
He said this as a white man.
He said that as a white man. Now,
but that's a Democratic slogan.
That is the Democratic slogan.
That's their whole motif lately.
And so here's this man that graduated from an Ivy League school with a
How did he get his money?
With a degree from urban studies. And I wrote an op-ed that said, you know what? I didn't get my degree from an Ivy League school in urban studies. I got my degree from the streets of Harlem in urban studies.
PhD. What did you say your PhD is?
Poor, hungry, determined.
And that's the best thing to be.
That's right.
Because then you got a mission out there to make it
You
happen.
got a fire in the belly.
Yeah.
Here's a scenario. Our country is it's a very simple place. This place works for the average person to get ahead, and that's what the elites don't like. Is that you can have someone, you can have a nobody come up to be a somebody, and they don't like that idea.
Because they can't control them. And it's
they
about
can't,
control.
The control, the work ethic, and everything else. Well, only the super elites can do this. Guess what? This country was here before there was Princeton, Harvard, and Yale.
That's right.
And people were successful without them telling them that they couldn't be.
Speaking of that, what about the 1619 Project from Nicole, what's it, Hannah Jones?
That's a revisionist story that again, that wants to reshape Western civilization.
Yeah. Rewrite history.
Rewrite history. Rewrite history, and doesn't want Black Americans to conclude themselves into the history. Well, listen, I'm going to tell you, I'm a descendant of American black slaves. Okay, I have an inheritance in this country, just like everyone else does, and I'm not going to let it go.
Right.
And I'm not going to disparage any other citizen that want to call this place home.
That's right. Because that's what America's about. It's the land of the free and the home of the brave. And they're trying to make even our soldiers less brave, right?
Right. Well, here's the special thing about this country. I can live in Japan for 50 years, speak fluent Japanese, but I'll never become a Japanese citizen.
That's right.
I'll never become Japanese.
That's right.
But you know, a Japanese person can come here, and as long as they get their citizenship, they can be here 6 months.
And they say
and
Asia,
they can be an American.
Japan and those countries are in Asia have more dual citizenships than any place in the world.
That's right.
Now, Japan is still a democracy, isn't it? Or is
Japan?
Yes,
it is.
Because there's very few democracies left in the world now.
Well, I'll tell you, of all the countries, only 6 haven't used our Constitution as a model for their own constitutions.
Now, India changed, which is India and China make a 1.5 billion, you know, each one a 1.5 billion.
Each one of them are
40% of the world.
That's right.
And they're building coal plants right now, but they tell us to build,
That's
we got
right.
to go to solar. We're 330 million plus another 20 illegals,
That's
so
exactly
350 million people. We make a little bit of dent into the solar atmosphere about our emissions compared to the rest of the world, and they don't make them stop building coal plants.
They're trying to tell us that we should need to lead and from a leadership standpoint.
Do you still want to get back into politics one day, or is that a desire?
I tell people that I'm not saying no to anything right now. So I'm leaving all options open. I have been asked to run stuff for statewide office, so I'm leaving those open.
Would you want to do state, or you want to do? You really make more of an impact in a state office, don't you? Or
well, it depends. If you know what, if statewide would be something like a senator or a governor. I haven't decided.
Yeah.
So,
and we need more Republican governors. If people don't see that with the lockdowns and the states that came back alive quicker, and our taxpayers are funding the ones that stay closed, like California, with the American Rescue Program, giving them all this money, and just let them open back up. If Donald Trump were president, we wouldn't have as big a problem as we have today, with all these trillions of dollars being spent. Just let them open.
Well, like I said, I'm leaving those open. I'm going to let. I'm going to try to find places where I can serve and be the most impactful for people of our state.
What about the rest of the take charge, since you're taking it around the country?
Yeah, we are. We've gotten requests to take charge and open chapters all over the country.
I want to help you down here in Louisiana.
Because our message is universal.
Yeah.
And so in the fall, we plan on launching the Prodigal Project, and it's really about returning back home. Again, returning back to core values.
Yeah, because I don't believe black people believe in infanticide. Do they even know what it means when they vote for your abortion?
No, you know, again, because a lot of us have been indoctrinated. Here's the thing that happens when having fathers in the home, having that family back. Yeah. Your abortion rates will decline significantly. Your abortion rates.
Yeah.
Not only abortion rate, whenever there's a father not in the home, childhood
and we're going to be showing some of your graphs that depict this on the screen.
Childhood abuse goes up, sexual abuse goes up, poverty goes up, all of the things. But when the father is in the home, abortion rates decline significantly. That's the #1 thing that can help, not just within the black community, across our country, on a lot of social issues.
Of course, you know, like as I do, a lot of people don't know, Margaret Sanger was a eugenist who started Planned Parenthood, and she put all the Planned Parenthood's facilities mostly in the black areas. And then they put billboards around, said, hey, we'll take care of your babibies.
Yep, and you know who was on the board?
We'll take care of getting rid of your babies. Excuse me, they don't say it, but that's what it means.
In Harlem, New York, who was on the board during the 1920s. Not Charlie, it was W.E.B. Du Bois.
He was?
He was.
Did he know?
Yes, he did. He did.
So he thought that there should be less black children born.
You know, this is where we don't know our history well. I'm not saying you, I'm saying all of us.
Yeah.
He was a rival of Booker T.
Oh,
Washington.
I know that. I do know they hated each other. And
that's
Frederick
right.
Douglass.
They hated each other.
Which side was Douglass on?
Douglass was on the same side as Booker T. Washington.
Booker T, that's what I thought. And then Dubois he was an elitist himself.
He was an elitist communist.
Yeah.
At the time of his death, he renounced his American citizenship and was a communist when that day he died.
You know what I tell people? Renounce it and go. Just like
That's
when
right.
Donald Trump won, Madonna, Cher, everybody's leaving America.
Yes.
Why didn't you go?
Oh, like, what you still doing here?
Yeah, why are you here?
Right.
But just go. Why do you want to change it? Because again, there's nothing like it in the world. So W. Du Bois, I guess he stayed on her board and
he did.
And renounced.
And he knew what it was about.
Wow. Well, if people don't know, she's, again, a woman who started Planned Parenthood and is a eugenist. And it was an elitist because she was rich. She was a Nazi.
And
she
it was
believed
all
in
about
Hitler.
getting rid of the lesser people from the population.
So she probably hated poor white people, too.
Yeah, it was
Lesser
everything.
to her was money and color. And I guess she called us mongrels.
That's right.
And so people need to know what we're dealing with here. And it's a shame. I wish critical race theory in the right way had been taught all the way through history. She should be in the history books for what she did.
And she stood up for that the critical race theory.
And you know, she taught Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton actually knew her. I understand. What year did she die?
She
60s.
in the 60s.
Yeah,
late,
Hillary, just like Saul Alinsky, you're familiar with him. Rules for Radicals.
Yes.
Community organizing is what they are known for in the Democratic Party.
Right.
And what did Saul Alinsky tell them? Show them what they want to see, then screw them in the back as you're doing it. And that's the Democratic Party is the best for that. They tell us what they want you to believe. AOC is one of the best spokespeople for their mission ever because they're going to the Green New Deal. They can say all they want there now, but that's what all this money is for.
Yes.
Because only usually 10 to 15% of their bill goes for what it says it goes for, like infrastructure.
Right.
Now we're going to take care of your baby, we're going to take care of your house. People, be for real. Again, nothing's free. How can they pay for all this when so many people are going to be on the government rolls?
Well, you know what? That is so far removed from us, but we don't even understand the gravity of those kind of decisions.
Right.
I think more than, like I said, more than anything that we need to do is that when we look at what's happening on the day-to-day ground, especially in the black community, returning fathers will eliminate 90% of the problems that we face in our communities. So
tell me, what's the path right now? And then we're going to start wrapping it up. The path to try to get fathers back into the home. One friend of mine in Atlanta, I'll just mention this to you, they started an organization to track down fathers in prison because a lot of the fathers are in prison. As it was, but we've let a lot of the prisoners out, like the immigrants coming, the illegals are prisoners they're letting out of their jails. But, and so they could at least communicate with their children.
Yeah, so here's what we're doing. So there's a lot of organizations that focus on adults. What we're focusing on is elementary, middle school kids. Just keep them from going in that direction. Get your education. You know,
you're
graduate.
Going into the schools. You're actually going into.
We're going into the schools. We're going to a lot of the after-school programs. We're looking at the next 3 to 4, 4 or 5 years, starting with middle schoolers. But you know, you got to start somewhere.
Oh yeah, and I know we should start. But is there something else we can be doing? I'm not talking. I'm just brainstorming with you right now. Not about take charge. It's a great mission. But is there something else we can be doing to stop? Because look what was done in the first day of Biden's.
Well, the problem is that we have to change policies. Number one, you know, the fact of incentivizing women to have children, as long as they remain unmarried.
Right.
Is number one? Is that
and
you ask us that question? Is that
we'll see
moral?
That on the screen.
Is that moral or amoral?
Yeah.
Is that right or wrong?
Right.
And it's wrong.
Right. You know,
we shouldn't be incentivizing that as a government.
When was birth control first come out?
In the 60s.
And that's when a lot of this started, when women had freedom of choice of men, I guess. So we've just done a lot of things, and we didn't stay as close to God as we should have, and to our morals.
That's right.
And
but you know what? Here's what we said.
Let's talk about how people can reach you too.
Yeah, people can reach me, and they can.
We'll put it on the bottom third of the screen. Too.
Okay, they can reach me directly at takechargemn.com. That's takechargemikenovember.com. And on that site, not only this contact information, but we have video segments of really that communicates our message.
Yeah.
In a way that reaches people both intellectually and emotionally. I call it head and heart.
Yeah.
That gets that message across. and that we can turn around and be masters of our own destiny
I want
here.
to see some of those films you told me about that'll make you cry.
Yeah, absolutely. We keep them 3 minutes or under.
Yeah. The lifespan of young kids, especially.
That's right. That's
Somebody
right.
told me,
Attention
your show's too long. It's got to be 3 minutes, like TikTok, to get people to watch, young people to watch it, right?
Yes.
You need to do 3-minute blurbs. I guess we'll cut it into 3-minute sections. Well, so is there anything else that you want to relate to the audience, or you'd like to say to Dianne Andrews in Black and White?
Yeah, I do. You know, one of the things about critical race theory, I can tell you, it's not a new civil rights movement. It's not led by a new Martin Luther King. Not even Al Sharpton's in the front of critical race theory. This is a progressive leftward movement, far left movement, using racial disparities as a way to advance their agenda. Mm-hmm. But it's not racial disparities is the issue. It is really a two-parent disparity. Right. Because even two-parent black families, their kids graduate high school just fine. Mm-hmm. They have low incidents with law enforcement. Mm-hmm. They get low expulsion rates. Mm-hmm. What they're using is a two-parent disparity and trying to justify their agenda to ram it down the throats of Americans. And people need to know what their children are being taught out there. I think last year, one good thing may have happened from the pandemic shut-ins, when people were looking at what their children were being taught. Right. Thanks for being on the show, and I really appreciate you coming down, and anything we can do at Dianne Andrews in Black and White, or Dianne Andrews. Well, thank you so much for having me. Let me know. Yeah, I'll get back up to Minnesota in the summertime. There you go. Welcome back to Dianne Andrews in Black and White. With me today I have Susie Labry. Her handle is Louisiana Sunshine. She has worked in the music, the film, and political arena. Today we're going to talk about her as a citizen advocate in politics here for the CRT. If you don't know what that is, it's critical race theory. And if you don't know what that is, you must have been living under a rock, because that's what we hear about, the feud that's going on around the country. Some school districts saying they don't do it and then being found to do it. Others saying it seems to be ingrained or embedded deep down within some subjects with hints of what racism may be. Now, some people say it's good to teach these facts, they say, to the students. Others think that it is creating a void or a hatred of white against black, black against brown. It's back to before Dr. Martin Luther King won his battle. All colored people of color and all people of non-color should all be fairly treated and be treated as one. Do you think the parents, you said you went out and you talked to some in the field and talked to parents, do you think they know what's being taught to their children? As far as that's concerned?
Most don't. They just say, I just hear them say, oh, so-and-so did this in school today, and they don't know what they're saying, and later on you put 2 and 2 together and you, ooh, it makes sense.
One young man told me, and he's about 19 or 20 now, he said that when he was maybe 10 or 12, the teacher, white teacher, came in to the class and she told all white people sit down, all black people stand up, all brown people stand up, and each one in their own cluster, right? Of the blacks together, the browns together, right? And I guess if you got Vietnamese or Asian people, the yellows together. Okay. And then she told the white people, you have white privilege, and now I want them to sit down and look down at you. If that's not teaching hate, I don't know what it is. Seems like some teachers may even be teaching this not beyond what the school curriculum requires or even knows. And that's the answer I want to get to with State Representative Ray
Garofalo.
Yeah, Garofalo. I want to talk, when we talk, I want to talk to him about, are some teachers just believing this themselves?
Yes.
And the key is, what do the students feel? How do you make a white student feel? Yeah, and how does a black student feel? Because it doesn't do us any good being victims. It's saying that you're a victim and everything white is white privilege. I don't think you can tell Michael Jackson or Michael Jordan's children that they aren't privileged. Black people are not victims. We may have been in this 40s, 50s, 60s.
Or any other most black people I know are very successful.
Yeah.
They get up and work, they make money and very successful.
Yeah.
It's not color. Are you going to work or not, or go earn it
and get an education and go to school, yeah, and buy a house. And house is the quickest way. Property ownership is the quickest way. And that was a problem in the 50s and 60s. A lot of black communities were redlined, and that is over now. We couldn't get loans even up to the 70s. You know, after the all the Civil Rights Acts that were done by Eisenhower and then the one by Johnson. So, Sue, is there anything else you'd like to tell us about what you learned and what you think should happen next year with critical race theory?
I think that, yes, I do. I think there's an agenda to this. I think it's divide and conquer, and I have studied socialism, communism, Marxism, Maoism, Hitler, Nazism, all of it. And that's one of the steps they wanted. I feel like I am a good dog being sit on other dogs. I learned about dog races and dog fights, not races, dog fights. Yeah. It's about pitting one dog against the other. Dogs are innocent. They both are good dogs, and the only thing that's wrong with the other dog is they're the opponent. They're doing it to the black people. They want to put black on black. They're teaching black people to hate black people. They're teaching white people the same ways.
But aren't they teaching us more blacks to hate whites?
Yeah,
and more whites to hate blacks.
And finally, blacks against whites, and blacks against black, and females against males, and vice versa. So this is critical sex theory in this bill too.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that.
And I had learned a lot about that. That to me was an awakening. Here I am, 67 years old, having low self-esteem. No. I just found out that I was weak in some areas because I'm not as strong as a man.
Right, but then they want little girls to be transgender boys to say, I'm a girl today, to go and play the same sports with girls who really are girls. Born girls. There is a genetic difference. I was in healthcare for 17 years. There's a lot of difference between the physical attributes of a man versus a woman. Now, there are some women as big and strong as men, but as a whole, women are not that way, and it's unfair to these girls who can never get scholarships.
And I felt bad because I was asking
Did that pass in Louisiana, too? Or they can do that now, too?
Oh, that's another bill. That's Senate Bill 156 by Senator Mizell. That's the sports freedom bill.
Do you know anything about that?
One. That passed the Senate, that passed the House, and it got vetoed by Governor John Bell Edwards, and it lost by 2 votes.
So they
One
can
vote
still,
in the House, 2 votes in the House of Representatives.
So transgender boys can now, if they have a girl, can go and compete with girls.
Yeah.
You know, that should make a lot of mothers of girls upset who want to be athletes.
Oh, they're very upset. The schools are upset. The sponsors are going to be removed. Scholarships will be removed and all that. And another thing that personally happened to me is when I had low self-esteem, I found out, no, it's nothing to do with me being Susie Labry or me or even short. It's because I was a woman.
We're both short.
And that made me feel good. A friend of mine made me feel good that, no, Susie, a man, a 200-pound-year-old man versus a 5'4" little petite woman.
You're not 5'4". I mean, Susie, you're not 5'4". But anyway, we're going to have to wrap it up, Susie, on that. And thanks for being on Dianne Andrews in Black and White, as always. This is our 3rd time on the show.
I hope it's been informative to you.
Yeah, it has. To the audience.
Thank you.
Thanks, Susie, and we'll get you back on later, and we'll finish this with the state representative.